To another question. What props did you get to keep?
Well, you know, Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff, who did the special effects for 2, 3, and 4, I think, they gave me a little alien embryo that I still have in a drawer. It hasn't grown. I think it's safe. I thought it was a strange gift, but I thanked them, and I think they've forgotten about it now. I'm afraid to put it in water in case something will happen. But I did. Actually, my friend Tim Allen, I was doing Galaxy Quest with him, and he loves science fiction. He has these things he's spent money on in his screening room. And he put in this big piece of the set from Aliens, and he said, "You've got to sign this for me." So I didn't know where he'd got it, so I put "Stolen by Tim Allen." Love Sigourney Weaver, and he got so mad at me because he said, "I spent thousands of dollars."
He felt that you ruined it, basically, by the graffiti. Okay. Just starting down the line, I want each of you to just briefly tell me, what is your favorite memory of working with James Cameron? Mark?
My favorite memory is one morning at a 4:30 a.m. call. I was walking through the sound stage, had an early makeup call, and in the distance I could see Jim just in like regular house lights with a notebook, intent, and making notes on the set. And it was just the two of us, so I just shouted out, "Morning, Jim!" And he didn't budge, didn't hear me, and I was just in awe, thinking, wow, this dude is so intense and just so into this movie. It really impressed me.
He didn't like you, Mark.
That's why he killed you. I'm just kidding.
I can feel the love all around here.
It's growing, isn't it?
Rico?
I think one of the most memorable and funniest moments that I remember from Jim was we were coming out of the RV, and I was asking him, you know, when we come out, I think I was leading or something. He goes, "Do you want me to turn right or turn left or what?" He looks at me and he goes, "Yeah." And that was it.
Jeanette?
I don't know. I guess the one thing I remember, this was my first time on camera. I was a stage actor, and I was a bit nervous, and I was talking to him about things I wanted to do for the character, and he just kind of said, "You got it. Don't worry about it. I trust you. Anything you come up with, I just got it, and I trust you." And that meant everything to me.
Cool.
Just getting cast to be in the film was pretty amazing. I met Jim in 1980 on a movie that was called The Quest. It was later released by the title Galaxy of Terror, which gives you an indication of the quality of that film. And we were friends, and it was just so exciting. I remember I was going over to, it was Christmas time, I was going to visit Louise and her family, and I was at LAX. And I see Jim Cameron coming up to the gate and handing off something to somebody who's getting on the plane. I said, "Jim, what are you doing?" He said, "I've been hired to write and direct Aliens." And I said, "Well, gosh, I hope you'll write me a good part." I read for the part on the 4th of July in England. And funny, they don't celebrate the 4th of July in England. But, I don't know why. But I remember, this is kind of a crazy story. I was really nervous because the audition was out at Pinewood Studios, and I was staying out in Twickenham, and in order to get out there on a train, I had to go into central London and come out on another line. And I went several hours early, and I ended up having to kind of walk the final mile to Pinewood Studios, and I got there like 3 hours early, and I'm out behind this 007 stage, and I'm looking at the sides and getting ready, and then I go in to read for the thing, and I think Jim had a video camera, and I think Gail was in the room, and the casting director, I think was it Mary Selway, I think it was, and he hands me this, this cardboard mailing, poster tube, and says, "Okay, I want you to do this, I want you to do that." And I felt like I was totally over the top, and I went home and I didn't hear anything, and I I had a movie called Weird Science come out. And Scott Root was the head of casting at 20th Century Fox, and my name came up on a list of about, I think, a dozen actors, and Jim had already been over in England for a couple months prepping, and my name came up, and Jim said, yeah. He goes, well, I know Bill, I'd love to use him. And I got the call, and I was just about to sign up to do Police Academy 2. And, I had to tell you, I was like, Aliens with Jim Cameron, Police Academy 2. Wow. Yeah, well, Aliens, all right? Come
on. Well, I actually met Jim. Bill introduced me to him at a screening for a movie we did, Lords of Discipline. And of course I had done The Terminator. And so, you know, we go so far back that, like, at least I was never intimidated by Jim. And Jim has got this reputation of being, like, mad, you know, on the set, and angry and upset and pissed off. You know, it's just kind of a reputation. People are always asking me about it. And the worst it ever got from me, I've never heard him raise his voice really on the set, but the worst it ever got from me was, I can't remember what scene we were shooting, but we got done with the take, and he looked at me and he said, that's exactly what I don't want. And I said, all right, motherfucker, give me a line reading, and I'll do it like that. Just, you know, I know you can do everybody else's job on this set better than they can, but you can't fucking act, can you?
Thanks.
Yeah, I was really nervous going into Aliens, and I over-prepared, like I was saying about the script. You know, I wrote all kinds of issues in it to find out how do you play an android? I mean, you know, I had seen Rutger Hauer and Ian Holmes, and I thought, God, I can't live up to those guys. And I realized, all right, I'm not gonna compete. I gotta find it myself. I gotta find it. So inevitably, I realized that I'm gonna play a guy my life when I was 12. You could forgive abuse in your life, or you know you're going to outlive people, so you forgive them, you know, for a lot of things, and so it was like an optimistic kind of innocent character that finally emerged. But I remember I had spent my last money on some sclerals for my eyes that had 2 pupils in each eye. And I said, Jim, you know, I got this idea that when Bishop gets alerted, it goes, and he's got 2 pupils in each eye. You can really see shit. So Jim said, all right, Lance, let's try it. So I'm doing a scene where I'm dissecting a facehugger. and I turned back to the guy, and I got 2 pupils in each eye. And Jim said, oh, wow. Okay, I'll tell you about it. I'll look at the dailies tomorrow and tell you how it went. And he said, Lance, it's out. It's scarier than the alien. I don't want to use this. I'll never forget it.
That's great. Paul?
I was going to say, like Mark was saying, Jim's intensity was so consistent and so palpable. You know, he'd be running from the set, doing something with the actors, and then going over and working with the miniatures, and then like he was just on. And one of the things that always impressed me, and I didn't see this, but I remember hearing it, maybe he told us, at one point, he was writing 3 scripts simultaneously. You know what, I think it was Rambo, maybe it was Aliens, and Terminator 2, I'm gonna guess. Writing, and he said he had a room, a garage, and he had 3 different desks with 3 different computers, and he would just, whatever we would hit him, and he would just work on this, and each one had music, certain specific playlists that he would write, and certain crappy snack foods that he would eat. And I would go, holy shit, this guy is something. And I witnessed, out of one garage came all these movies. I mean, that's the kind of incredible genius he is.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Carrie?
he asks, I guess he gives 110% and he expects it, and I'm the kind of person that gives it anyways. I do remember something that happened, and apparently later I found out that James Cameron had gone to my dad and said, you know, I'm working with Carrie, can you give me any tips on making sure that she does what I want? And my dad said, Carrie's great, you tell her what you want, she'll do it. Just, you know, so my first day on set, I was a little bit nervous. I was more nervous because I had to go to the cafeteria and eat, and I was all dressed funky, and I thought everyone would look at me funny. So I got on set, and Ripley and I were filming together, and he came up to me and he said, okay, Ripley's gonna say X, Y, Z, and then you're gonna say your line, okay? And I said, oh, okay, fine. So we start filming, and Ripley said A, B, C, and I just stood there, and they cut, and James Cameron came over to me and said, okay, Carrie, Ripley did her bit, what about your bit? And I said, well, you told me she was going to say X, Y, Z, and she said A, B, C. And you probably don't even remember it, but you looked at me and you said, wow, you're right. So James Cameron pulled me a little bit aside and said, you know, sometimes they change a little bit. That's okay. Just keep going with it. So I'm like, okay. So we never had that issue again.
Sigourney, your favorite, your most memorable James Cameron memory?
Well, there's so many. But one of my favorites with Carrie, too, was, you know, we'd been filming in this place, the Acton Power Station, for weeks. It was freezing, it was in the middle of winter, and we get to the point where Newt is stuck in this, whatever it is, web, cocoon, and Jim gives me the whole speech, too. We can only do this once. And I see these guys putting this thing together, and I'm picking it up, and I said, wow, you know, because I'm really not Ripley, I'm really Wimpley, and I pick it up and I go, man, what is this stuff? This is really sharp. He said, come on, it's nothing. And he starts to rip across, you know, starts to rip it apart, and then he rips and rips, and you go, see, I'm fine. I went, okay. And then, so they put it back together, spinning it, and then I do it, and at the end, I'm covered with blood. Thank you. I'm a girl.
You got sliced up.
Of how sure he was, and for him it was right, and for me it was wrong.
Gotcha. We actually have a clip, a message for you right now. If we can play this clip from a special guest. Can we see that, guys?
Hey, Sigourney, remember me? I'm the one that killed the entire Alien franchise. The last franchise I killed. And it wasn't the first. Anyway, I miss you, girl. I'm sure you're looking beautiful. One of these days I'll get a big hug and a kiss from you. Ciao from me.
When it comes to science fiction, horror, action films, the Academy seems to only recognize the visual effects team. But you were the first to garner an Oscar nod for Best Actress. What were your thoughts? How did you feel when you found out you were nominated for Best Actress?
Well, I was in shock. I thought it was incredible. I don't think I quite understood the significance of the genre getting recognized like that. I was actually in a meeting with producers about Gorillas in the Mist, and what I thought was, oh, this is so exciting that this is happening right now with my producers in the room. It'll make sure that I get this job, you know, because actors think that way. No, but I was very, very honored. But, you know, it's such an ensemble picture. And I really felt, I'm not just saying it, I was representing everyone.